That's interesting. Did you start the recording already? Uh-oh.
Got the notification, didn't you?
I'll be right back. I have to refresh my internet.
Hello, everybody. Woody, you're muted. Roy, you're unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Thank you very much. Awesome.
Yeah, I think I saw it. Jeffrey is actually the host right this minute. Does he know that?
Oh, I didn't realize.
He's the host right now.
Is John not available?
I guess he dropped off for some reason. I don't know how he set up a backup host, but he did. So I can hear you now, Teresa.
Good. All right. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
I am so jealous of all the people that are in the California to go on the boat and have masterminds on the boat.
I know. We're really missing out.
I don't know.
We're in California, but haven't been on the boat yet. Although that's on us.
But it creates an incentive to help John get set up in Florida or somewhere else.
There's an idea. Well, he could like go around the Panama Canal,
Yeah,
go up the East Coast, go
That's
through
right.
the St. Lawrence Seaway and come to Chicago.
oh, well, I don't know about that one. Especially this time of year.
Well, by the time he got here, it would be summer.
You're right. That's a very good point. And he could be teaching all the way.
That's right. A world cruise.
Yes.
All right,
I
John.
like
without
that.
our
That's what
million
happens
dollar
when
idea.
he leaves for a minute.
Yeah,
We
Hey, John, you're
have
not
all
deciding
these
what you were gonna
wonderful
do with your
plans
boat
for
in
you, John.
2022.
his agenda is set.
Speaking of plans for 2022, what are your goals this year?
Are you asking the group or me?
Well, you first, Teresa.
Oh, sure. Thanks a lot. Actually, I'm kind of changing my direction because I've become fascinated by the whole crypto world. So I'm
Oh,
particularly and to integrate it, of course, with my day job. My plans are to become the compliance expert in crypto because the IRS, the SEC, and FTC and all the other people are talking about how they're going to regulate crypto and what kinds of compliance issues we will all have. So I know the accountants and attorneys don't know a lot about it, so I can train them and have fun at the same time and also include that information for all of you. So
Well, there
those are
you
my
go.
plans for 2022.
excellent.
We'd love that.
Yeah, I would say crypto is so mystic with IRS, you don't know what to do with it, but someone like you definitely.
Maybe you'll be able to keep me out of trouble.
There we go.
Oh, that
need
might
to
be
do
a
that.
little too much to ask.
Right?
Yeah, I don't see that happening. That's a tall order.
That's too big a job for anybody.
It's also no fun.
I know. Yeah, we gotta keep the fun alive here. But anyway, sorry about that. I don't know what happened. I got kicked off. My internet went black for a second, and now I'm back. But didn't stop our recording, so we're still good there. Anyway, yeah, the crypto thing that Teresa was talking about, I've kind of delved into that over the last year too, and I think that's going to be a big part of my 2020 as well, or 2022.
20,
I'm still in 2020.
me too.
Can't believe it. I had to write
Come
that
back,
in
John,
something the
come
other
back.
day.
Yeah, we don't want you to be there,
Don't leave me in 2020.
really.
But no, I took an online class yesterday. It was actually a private training about crypto staking. And, I've also been doing the bot trading from Dan Holling's plan. And it's actually working really well. I don't know if any of you guys are into the whole crypto space, but in the last 48 hours, it has really tanked. I mean, it has gone down radically, and my robots have made not quite as much to cover the loss, but like most people lost a big chunk, and I only lost a little bit because my robots were making up for it. So robotic trading is amazing. I went through
What is that,
Dan's
John?
program. It was awesome. What's that, the robotic trading or
Yeah.
Dan's program?
No, the robotic trading.
It's just like day trading. You get a trading platform and you can set up automations like when to buy and when to sell. And you can set up, all these buy and sell orders. And the software that Dan recommended is absolutely phenomenal. It does all the calculations and stuff for you. So you just have to know how to set the parameters. And I followed his instruction like to the T, tested it out, learned a little bit about it, and then applied kind of some of what I know about algorithms and what I've learned from Google over the last 20 years. And I went kind of off the range on my own and came up with some stuff that works probably even better. So cool stuff. And then, like I was saying yesterday, I went through that private training, paid a considerable amount of money for it, but they've got what's called staking. And staking it's an interesting concept. It's almost like short-term bridge loans. And the people that are getting the bridge loan, they have to back a certain percentage of it with their own crypto. So it's radical. It's not safe. It's as risky as it gets. But saying that they have to back it with their own crypto, that's like somebody taking 50% mortgage out on their house and saying that's radically risky. Well, the worst thing's going to do is they're going to take the house, right? So it's not that big a risk, in my opinion. But anyway, it is, there is risk in that. It's very far off of, what this group was intentionally made for, but I'm good going wherever it, I know you guys just want to make money. So I'm all about that. Anything in business that's about that, I'm in. Roger, go ahead.
John, I know everybody's into crypto. It's exciting. It's possibly a moneymaker. But I do like having you and Craig as marketing and how to build a business advisors. And boy, everybody's talking crypto, and I think it's eclipsing a little bit. I'm into the how to come up with better big ideas and how to refine that copy.
I agree.
Each time we do a copy review, sometimes, it needs quite a bit of work. So there's a lot of learning still to do. And I know same with me, a lot of learning.
Absolutely. And this, I don't want you to think that this group is taking that turn. It's just the topic keeps coming up. But I think
It does.
what I'll probably do is, segmenting, and this goes back to the ACT program, knowing your audience, knowing what they want. And when you have a different audience, you segment out for them. and you speak their language. So very soon you'll see I'm going to make a split. I talked about this on last week's call and I haven't quite got there yet, but I did go into Kartra and I played around with their survey. They have a new survey tool inside Kartra, and it looks, I haven't done it yet, but I went through the tutorials and I played around with it a little bit. It looks awesome. It looks absolutely phenomenal. So right from inside Kartra, you will be able to poll your audience, find out what they like, and based on how they fill out the form, answer the questions, you can tag them. So you can segment them. So you're going to see when I put out the survey, I'm going to ask on there all the things that you're interested in, and crypto is going to be one of them. You know, going on the boat will be one of them. I'll have a whole bunch of stuff. And then that way I'll know who wants information about what. And that's going to lay out my whole 2022 game plan. So I'll create, you know, events around that, whether they're Zoom events or, you know, live events or whatever, but it will only go out to those that are actually interested in that stuff. So we'll keep everybody happy, keep everybody on track, get everybody what they want. So I definitely appreciate that. And feedback is awesome. I mean, don't ever be afraid to throw anything at me. I appreciate it all. So, because you know, this group is not about me, it's about you guys. So it's whatever you need, whatever you want, throw it out there and I'll attack it for you. And big ideas, this is one of the things that everybody struggles with. And I struggled with it a lot in the beginning until I really kind of became second nature. And it's again, I've said this so many times, it's such a simple thing, but so hard to implement. And I don't know why that is. I really don't know, because when you get down to it, you have three key components to a big idea. And the only purpose of a big idea is to grab attention. It's the front end, it's the leading edge of your marketing campaign. It's how do you grab attention? And obviously, to do that, you have to know and be in tune with your audience. You have to know who you're talking to, what they want, why they want it, what it's going to do for them. The more you're in tune with that, the better you'll become at creating big ideas. And I see, like, now the way, because I do them so often, it's like I just see this stuff all the time when I'm walking around, just wherever. I can be in a restaurant, you know, see something and go, oh yeah, I could make a big idea out of that. Or I'll watch something on TV. Like the Elvis shift is a perfect example. I was watching a documentary on Elvis, just purely for entertainment. You know, I was flipping through the channels and here's something, you know, Elvis documentary. I'm like, that's interesting. And about halfway through, I'm like, oh my God, I could turn this into such a good big idea for the ACT program. I started recording it and pulled a lot of nuggets out of it and created that whole Elvis shift. Elvis shift is one of my big ideas. And so it's like they're everywhere. You can turn almost anything into a big idea. And that's what makes it unique. That's what will get you attention, because people will say, what? You know, I've never heard of that. If you keep saying things the way they've already heard them, you're not going to grab their attention. That's why you need a big idea. So the three components of the big idea is, the first one is, this is really important. It's the promise. If you don't make the promise that they want to hear, they're not going to listen. So the rest of it's doomed to fail. So the promise is the key element. That's the leading edge of your sword. You have to know, you have to understand what they want, why they want it, what it's going to do for them, how important it is to them. You need to know and understand all of that. So that's like, if I were to tell you to work on any one thing, that would be it. Really get to the bottom of what your person wants, why do they want it, what it's going to do for them. Because that goes back to the timeline exercise. In the ACT program, there's a timeline exercise, and the timeline's a really simple thing. It basically is just where the person is at this given point in time. And on the other end of the timeline is where they want to be. Where, you know, we all as human beings will never be where we want to be. We just are where we are. And we're all there, you know, there's no doubt about it. We always want something else. Like if Roger, if you came to me and you said, I want to make $1 million in my business this year, and I waved the magic wand and just boom, magically put you there. And then I'd ask you the next question, what do you want now? It's like the genie in the bottle, you know, you got the 3 wishes. When you get to the end of the 3rd wish, you want a 4th one. It's whenever we get what we thought we wanted, now we're on a new timeline. It's wherever we are, that's it. But
So
when we
John,
get
just-
there, yeah, go ahead.
May I? Sorry.
Sure.
It's amazing what coaches bring, because I had completed 10 avatars for Michelle and I's business, right? And the question is, I feel like there's 30 different opening statements I could make to each of the 10 avatars. So narrowing down the homepage of a website, you got to pick one, which is one statement for one avatar. And I'm struggling with that. And right now, as you're talking, you're not talking about what I'm thinking, but your talking is making the wheels turn. And I realize that of the 10 avatars, our communication venue that has worked for us reaches a large audience, but not all 10 avatars. So some of the avatars may be perfect clients for us, perfect, but we can't reach them using our communication conduits we use right now. Instantly, while you're talking, I realized I can eliminate 6 of my 10 right out of the gate. So I've already, and I just felt that, oh my God, aha moment while you were talking. I love good coaches, just making you think. I just want to say that.
Yeah, because that's the whole thing about this. It is a thought process. If you're not thinking and you're not thinking all the way through, all you are, you're just like in this little bubble and you can't see what's outside. You got to really think outside the box. Like this is probably easy for me because I never knew there was a box. Somebody had to tell me there was a box, and I still haven't found it. So it's a mythical box out there somewhere, and a lot of people get stuck in it. But anyway, the other thing too about what you just said, you've got 10 different avatars. We all have 10 different avatars. We probably have a lot more than that. But if you go back to the very beginning of the ACT program, I talk about segmentation. And I don't know if I structured it as that, but it is segmentation. It's identifying your most profitable segment, your most profitable avatar. Because we all have different people that will buy our stuff for different reasons. And you have to focus on the most profitable one if you want to be successful in business. It's like, this is the example I use to kind of make this clear for a lot of people. If I were selling lobsters, right? Everybody wants lobster, right? Well, not everybody, but a good percentage of the population likes lobster. If I were to offer lobster, everyone would want it, including the people on Skid Row, right? They want my lobster, but they can't afford it. Will they pay for it? No, they can't. They want it, but they will not pay for it. So when you look at all of your opportunities, all of your avatars, you have to take that into consideration of who do you want to build a marketing campaign for? You don't want to build a marketing campaign to sell lobster on Skid Row. It's going to be a very difficult endeavor. And I see so many people do that. And then business is hard. And it's not just hard, it's impossible because they've created the wrong set of circumstances. That I think is the box, and they created it. They built that box and they can't get out of it. So always look like, you said you could throw 6 out the window. Hopefully that's because they're just the not profitable ones.
No, they're profitable.
Okay, well,
Possibly.
then maybe don't throw them out the window. Just figure out how to communicate with them. Because this is the other thing, you could have one of your avatars. Like, let's say you dialed it in and you have your most specific one that's most profitable. There's going to be a lot of people inside that group, and they may not all hear things the same way. That's where multiple big ideas. There is not just one big idea. You can't just create one big idea and call it quits and say, this is it, my business is going to run great forever. The more big ideas you have, the more eyeballs you will attract. The more eyeballs you attract, the more times you will get to make your presentation. The more times you'll be able to create demand and desire. That's the second piece of a marketing campaign. First piece is grab attention. Second piece is create demand and desire. That's where your presentation comes in. That's where webinars, that's where sales videos, that's where sales pages. And there, if you are not basing that presentation on a sales process that has worked in your industry, again, you're going to be fighting an uphill battle. Every business has to have a sales process. There has to be a way where you take somebody from not knowing what you do, letting them know what you do, letting them know how it affects them, what it does for them, what they get out of it, why they want it, how it works, all of that stuff. You have to convey all of that. They have to get it or they're not going to buy it. That's a sales process. So that's like, in the real world, that's your sales presentation. That's when you go into the boardroom and you present your product, you present your ideas, and at the end, you make an offer. You make a call to action. You want a decision. It's almost like, if you're in a courtroom, you're making your case, you're pleading your case, and you're hoping for the right decision on the end of it, right? So that's kind of the whole marketing campaign in a nutshell. That's the way it goes. It's grab attention, create demand and desire, make your offer, make your sale, and then you have the back end. This is where you fulfill and you create more value and you sell more stuff, and it's almost like a flywheel. You want to create your first sale not as an end all be all. Your first sale should just be the first part of the process of a lifetime value that you bring to any prospect, any customer. So that's where you'll really make a lot of money long term, is if every person, every prospect, every person is a prospect. They might not be the right prospect, but if they are, you bring them in, you turn them in from a prospect to a customer. And the next thing, your goal from the very first step, your goal should be to turn them into a lifetime customer. Whether you sell stuff to them for the lifetime or not, you can connect the dots. The thing that you offer might just be a first step in their life. They're going to have a lot of other steps. That timeline is going to go on until they pass away. When they leave the earth, their timeline ends, but it really doesn't, because it kind of passes along. Once you're dead, you still need stuff. You still need a burial. You still need, several things past your timeline. So you want to make sure that you get involved in as much of that as possible. The more you're involved, the more you'll make. And it's kind of a hard thing for a lot of people to wrap their head around. They think, and again, they're inside this box. They think, well, I make this, I don't make anything else. I can't go further. That's the furthest thing from the truth you could possibly imagine. Just because you don't make the next thing they're going to need doesn't mean that you can't be a salesperson for it or a connector and make a commission. You just pass them down the line. Your job at that point is to figure out what are they going to need for the rest of their life, every step of the way, and then you're there to provide it for them. You know it before they do. If you can know what a person is going to need before they need it, you become the most valuable asset in their life. You know, it's like the what to expect when you're expecting book. An expectant mother doesn't know what she's in for. She doesn't know what she's up against. She has no idea what's coming, you know, every step of the way. So if you can be her guiding light, not only tell her what she needs, but where to get it, who has the best one, who has the most affordable one, steer her around the pitfalls. You have an 18-year timeline going on there, at least. And any of you that have kids or know people that have kids, I don't have kids myself, but I've got a lot of nieces and nephews and a lot of friends that have kids, and apparently it does not end at 18 years. It will go on as long as you do, I believe.
Amen to that one.
Hey, John, can I run a couple of thoughts past you and see your reaction, marketing thoughts?
Sure, absolutely.
I'm looking for raised hands in case anybody else wants to go, because I don't want to dominate the session. But here's Michelle and I's thinking. On social media, appropriate social media, we are communicating with an audience, and then we invite them to get a free lead magnet thing, right, to capture their email. That's what, then we use that list to offer a free seminar. This is maybe a 90-minute seminar.
Okay.
And it's basically a how-to seminar, but
Yes.
it's 60 to 90 minutes. And the idea is it's a lot of info to establish the credibility that we have a lot of info. And part of that time is used to upsell to a mastermind, or then the option is downsell to video courses, right?
Yeah.
Now, the question I have is, do I communicate with the audience that we have to get the lead magnet and then email them about a forthcoming seminar? Or do I just use the social media to announce a forthcoming live seminar? That's question one. Question
Okay.
two is, do you recommend a live sales seminar, or do you recommend an evergreen with slides and voiceover and maybe a you know, the head in the corner style that we've seen a lot of people use?
Yeah. So for the first one, you're pretty much right on the money with the process there. That is the lead magnet. That should be a little splintered thing. And you had said something there about you're doing this to build credibility. The best way that you can build credibility with anybody is tell them what they need to know to get what they want. You don't have to go outside or beyond that. They will understand real quickly that you have what they want. And that is all the credibility that you need. So that brings me back to the best lead magnet that you can give them is how to take the first step to get them where they want to go on that timeline. Anything outside of that is not going to be near as effective. And attach it to a big idea. Attach it to a big idea that's going to talk about what they really want. And then the lead magnet is, here's the first step in the process. And I'm going to give it to you for free. And then you deliver that. They opt in, you give them the free thing. And then what Frank Kern says is, he says, you stack the cool. You're really cool now because you gave them what you promised them. So in their eyes, you're a cool cat. But now what you want to do is you want to be cooler than that. You want to stack the cool. So now you give them more. You say, by the way, now that you've got that, you're going to be able to take the first step. I'm going to follow up and I'm going to show you how to take the next step. I'm doing a free seminar, free webinar. In answer to should that be live or evergreen, it has to be live the first time. But anything that you can do where you can evergreen it, I'm all about automation. So you don't have to do, a live webinar every time you want to do this. You should have a automated sales process in place. You're going to have to do a live event to do that. Well, actually, that's not true. You could just pre-record anything, and you could do an evergreen out of anything. Sometimes that's better. Here's where a live event will help you. It gives you one of the credibility pieces that other people are on the event. That's social proof that other people. Nobody wants to be the only one. People feel a lot more comfortable in a crowd, no matter what they're doing. Nobody wants to go through the wall themselves. They feel better when they're surrounded. And that's where a live event will give you that, whether it's virtual or in person. It gives you that camaraderie, like in a true live event where you're looking around and you're seeing all the other attendees. When you see their excitement, what does that tell you? I should be excited too, right? It fuels the fire. So that event, there's a purpose to it, and that's it. It's providing social proof that what you have is good and it's the right thing, it's the right decision. It helps eliminate an objection, because wherever there's uncertainty, that's immediately going to cause an objection of, should I do this? Does this work? When you're in a live event and you see the whole room get excited, what does that tell you? Well, yeah, it does work. I should be in on this. So does that kind of answer those?
It does. Let me go down one nuance of the evergreen.
Sure.
And that is some evergreens are just a recording of a prior live session. Others are a very polished, well-presented, basically a slideshow narrated, some headshots of the person, but mostly slides. I'm not questioning the delivery mechanism. I'm questioning the opportunity to attend messaging. What happens is you have this common thing of it's beginning in 20 minutes and a countdown clock, and it's evergreen. So
yeah,
it instantly begins to feel like these people are all about sales. They're pushing sales. And
that to me just screams of fraud. All of that crap just screams of fraud to me. I know it's effective. I know why they do it, but most people can see through that cloud of smoke. And as soon as they see through the cloud of smoke, it doesn't make the person on the other end look good. You don't want to start off your relationship with a prospect that's going to be a lifetime prospect with a lie. That's not a good place to start a relationship. And that's kind of what that is.
So evergreen, yes, but just say, click here to go watch it.
Yeah. Like when I do an evergreen, I pose it as just that. I say, hey, we did a presentation last week and it was awesome. We recorded it. I have access to it. And, you're welcome to go through it. The more honest you are, you talk about building credibility. You build credibility on top of honesty. Always.
John, hey, Roger. Hey, John. That just happened to me the other day, and now I'm a little pissed off because I keep getting emails from this person. They had a great live video presentation. It was just a few minutes and sucked me in, and I thought I was going to get something decent. Turns out it was a recorded webinar or whatever, and no indication that it was going to be, that person was not going to be there. And now I'm stuck with getting these emails and I'm ready to cut them off. But I think what you're saying, John, is exactly right. You're looking for the real deal, somebody who's going to come on and say, this is what I've got going on, and tune in exactly the way you said it, because this here is really a turn off. It is really pissing me off.
Randy,
Yeah,
what would you have expected
Was
when
there
you
was
clicked
their
in?
initials GC, Randy?
No, no, no. What would I have expected based on, I'm not an easy sell anymore. I used to be, but I'm really looking at sales and trying to understand the sales mentality a little bit more. And so I've been doing a lot of study in the last month on different sales processes. Obviously, Cardone is one of them. I'm going from a Grant Cardone all the way down the line and picking and choosing. And I've got it down to like 3 or 4 simple steps. They all say the same thing for the most part. And I'm trying to drill that in. And this one particular lady came across as the real deal. And I find out, it's not what I wanted. So it's just, I think you got to be more upfront and transparent, like you said, John. It just goes down easier because you know what you're getting into.
John, would you mind if
Yeah.
I ask Randy a follow-up question?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry. So Randy, you were clicking into a presentation.
Mhm.
Did you expect it to be live, or would you have been okay with it being pre-recorded if you knew?
No, I would have been okay with it being pre-recorded. If I'm told it's pre-recorded, then I have the option of checking it out or not. But in this case, I expected it to be live. It wasn't. And then I'm constantly now, because I left early right away. As soon as I realized it was this pre-recorded thing going on and blah, 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 because you can't ask questions like that. And it's just a sales pitch. And you want to be able to ask questions and gain some knowledge, get something out of it, based on your situation or what you have, in your mind that you need to understand. And you can't do that in this situation. So I opted out right away. I closed out. And the very next moment, within moments, I got a follow-up email. I did get the thanks for showing up, attending, and now every day I'm getting hit with these emails and I'm sick of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Andy, when you were annoyed by this, was the annoyance because you had set the time aside and expected the presentation to be live?
Well, it was a number of things. It was that, and we're all busy. We're trying to figure out how to get on John's train and travel with him. So we don't have enough time. Yeah, we're one person or we're 2 people. If you're starting out, and I still consider myself starting out, and I've got 15 things on the plate to accomplish, and so my time is very limited. And and then there's days when you don't feel as productive, so then you're kicking yourself in the butt, and the next day you're going crazy. You're getting up at 4:30 in the morning or whatever it is, and everyone has their story. But my point is, you're absolutely right. I put aside this time. I thought I was going to be able to ask some questions, and I wasn't, and now I'm being bugged over this whole sales thing, and I'm sure that it's a $1,000, $5,000, $10,000 thing, and I'm just not interested in that. I just wanted to be able to ask some simple questions and see if I was going to get some value, and then maybe take the next step. And Roger, the thing I would say to you about, you said something about the lead magnet and getting them in and then downgrading. I don't think I'm at a point where I don't ever want to go backwards in terms of I would always start off with something easy for them to bite into, low cost. And then, like John says, then serve them more than what they expected. And then the next thing be greater, larger, of more value, maybe a higher price, and then have them going that way. I would never go backwards. That was one of the things that held me back for at least 3 years, doing the right thing in my mind, but charging so little that people didn't see the value in what I was bringing to the table. And so now, knowing people like John, you, and other people, I just, my fee is my fee. The program is the program. And I would do a live event. I'm doing live events this year, but do small live events. And you'd be amazed if you get 5 or 6 or 10 people, it doesn't matter, because 2 or 3 of them, if they bite, you're already down the road. And $500 for a hotel room is not much. $750 and 4 hours of hanging out with people, you just start picking up momentum. And I can't wait to start doing that again. So I would say do some live events. I'll come to one of your live events.
There you go. A ticket sold right there, Roger that.
Well, Michelle's sitting next to me with a huge grin on her face, and live events are tricky in our field. We have to communicate very clearly about it's an educational session.
Oh, damn,
Yeah.
now I'm not coming.
I would have come just for fun.
Hey, you get to
It's a
raise the
sleepy year, I'll go.
curiosity factor. Work on the curiosity factor.
We're
Be
curious. Come on now.
Yeah, be transparent.
You
enough
sold
to
us
be-
all on curiosity right there, dude.
There-
Come on.
What is it?
What the heck?
It reminds me, hey, Roger, it reminds me when I worked in the aerospace industry for Northrop in R&D, and I couldn't wait to get my clearance and access to get behind the black curtain. It's the same thing. You know, we want to see what's behind the curtain. And then it's our decision, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But
Totally.
that's where, that's where you create demand and desire. It's your presentation is basically your live event. It doesn't mean, you haven't even made the sale yet. So, and then, I mean, Roger, based on what you're doing there, you may not even want to deliver on what it is that they actually want, but you can become the connector to it. You can take them to the end of, of your rainbow, and then you pass them on to the next one.
Indeed, our goal is to teach them all the lessons learned, and you wouldn't believe how many non-intuitive lessons there are to learn that could, I think, have derailed an awful lot of people, and probably do derail a lot of people. And we navigated them, and it was through Michelle and I being so open and close and discussing them, what's good, what's bad, what's right, what's wrong, what personalities of the people we meet, that we've compiled this body of you're going to run into this situation, and how do you handle it? And
it's experience. It's purely experience.
Yeah, people
It's
think
that-
they buy a 58-foot boat and they're never going to have to do any maintenance. And they're just the weather's going to be great every day, and they're going to catch a lot.
Yeah.
Wait, that they do catch a lot of lobster, but they think it's going to be great all the time. They don't realize the maintenance that goes into it and the extra cost that goes into it. And that we need to educate them on that side of it.
Wait,
Very
Roger,
good.
I get lobster too?
No, John does.
Exactly. But that's the whole thing. You need to take them through your process, sell them whatever you're going to sell them, but then anticipate what they're going to want next and just pass them over that. You don't have to provide that. Like for me, I don't want to build a software system like Kartra and have to maintain that. I'm just going to pass people over to it. I'm going to take them up to the point where, okay, here you need a system in place. I don't want to be the one that provides that, but I want to be the connector to it. So, I go out, I test all the systems, I try them all out, I figure out which one's the best. And based on the relationship that I've created and the trust, I'm going to pass them to the one that I believe is the best for them. And in 99% of the cases, it's going to be Kartra.
Hey, John,
because I've tried all the rest.
Hey, John, would there be any benefit in Roger doing, like we all do, a test case, put together the package or whatever that live event looks like, whether it's recorded or not, and then find a few people and deliver it, let them see it and get the response and see if it worked for them and what worked and what didn't work, and that sort of thing before you actually put it out?
Well, and this is something that I coached Linda on just this last week. You don't have to create anything before you sell something. And that's like listen to that again. You don't have to create something before you sell it. Every program that I've ever made, I sold it before I created it. And if I hadn't sold it, if I were not able to sell it, I'll be damned if I'm going to put my time and effort into creating it. right?
It sounds so
If you can't-
counterintuitive, John. It really
If
does. It
you
sounds
can't-
counterintuitive.
I guarantee
Yeah, it
you, if you
does.
can't sell something to somebody based on what it is, even though it hasn't been created, you're not going to be able to sell it to them after you create it. I guarantee it. If they don't want it before, they're not going to want it after. And if you can't convey what it is before, you're not going to be able to convey what it is after. So, like for me, time is way more valuable than money.
So don't
And
put a lot of
I'm
work
not
into
gonna-
it.
Yeah, I am not going to put anything into something that is not going to get me where I want to go.
John, I have
So-
a question for you. If you sell something in advance and do it like that, which I'm planning on doing this Saturday to a group of about 300 people, how do you collect the money then? Did you use various, let's say it's a program, how do you present when you're going to actually produce the goods? And is it like a membership portal that you would have them go into to be able to access what they purchased? Or
Well,
what's the mechanics?
Sure. A lot of times people love a journey. People like to be a part of something. They like to go along for a ride. And especially when they just get in and go along for the ride and they don't have to do the driving. So when you put something like that out, you're basically saying, like, this is what I did the first time I ever created an online course. I was speaking to a women's group. They were women photographers in Orange County, and they wanted to know about SEO, right? So they asked me to come and speak to their group. And when I agreed to that, I was having a conversation with Barb, and I said, this is going to be really bad. This is going to be really frustrating because I know this audience. I know what level of business they are, and I know they can't afford what I offer. Because at the time, I was doing high-end SEO for commercial clients, and I was charging them, $10,000 a month minimum. And I knew these women were not going to be able to afford that. So here I'm going to go tell them about something they're going to desperately want and they can't afford. And I'm like, that's just not going to end well. That's just going to create frustration on their end. It's going to waste my time because I'm not going to get anything out of it other than a room full of frustrated women. And I, not sure I want to be in the middle of that. So I told her, I said, here's what I'm going to do. I figured it out. I said, I'm going to go and I'm going to tell them all about this. And then I'm going to offer them an online training program so they could do it themselves. And Barb, like, she got this weird look and she said, you don't have an online training program. And what I told her kind of blew her mind. I said, that's right. I'm not going to create one either unless they buy it. And she's like, you can't do that. And again, she's trying to put me in a box I don't know exists. All I was trying to do, honestly, this is the pure, honest truth. All I was trying to do is get myself out of frustrating a bunch of women. So I was offering them something I didn't really think they were going to take me up on. So anyway, I go, I do my presentation. They all fell in love with it, just like I knew they would. And then I told them, I said, I don't really do this for small business. I don't offer the service to the level where you guys all are in your business, but here's what I'm willing to do. I'm willing to show you how to do this yourself. And I'll do this over a 6-week, or I think it was 8-week program. I said, there's 8 steps. They're the same 8 steps I just showed you in the presentation. And I will show you how to do each step 1 per week for the next 8 weeks. And I'll do this live with you. Actually, not live. I said, I will create a module. It'll be a video. It'll give it to you on Monday. That will start the program. On Friday, I'll do a live conference call. This was before Zoom. This was just a telephone conference call. And I'll answer all your questions. And then the following Monday, you'll get module 2. You'll watch that video. The following Friday, we'll follow it up with a conference call. And we're going to do that for 8 weeks. And at the end of the 8 weeks, you will be able to do exactly what I do for your business. And I told them it was $295. And there was about, I think there was about 80 people in the room, and like 60 of them bought it. And I'm like, oh my God, you got to be fucking kidding me. Now I have to build this thing. and at the time, I did not know how to do screen capture video. I had never done video at all. And I'm thinking, I have to create a online video training course that I've never done, don't know how to do, and I better figure it out real quick. So I did. I created the course. That course ran the 8 weeks, and it was awesome. It was a great experience for me. It was a great experience for them. They got everything I promised them. They all got great results, the ones that did what I told them to do. And at the end of the 8th week, though, a lot of them were getting results already. You know, every time I told them to do something and they did it, they got results out of it. But at the end of the 8th week, they were flipping out. They were on the conference call and they were all freaking out. And I didn't know why. I'm like, what's wrong? You know, what's not working? I didn't understand the problem. And their problem was they were about to lose me. They were about to not have someone to ask their questions to. And I told them, I go, don't worry. I go, I'll stay on the call, leave this call open as long as it takes. If it's 4 hours, I got all day. I'll answer all of your questions. And that wasn't soothing their nerves at all. And this goes back to asking your customers what they want and create it for them. So now I just created the first thing that they wanted, because they told me they wanted it by buying it before it was even made. Now they're telling me they want this call to continue. They want continued support and mentorship. That was in somewhere around 2009, 2010. And that is the call you're on today. That call has been, this has been going on since then. So I said, how about if I offer to continue this every week for $29 a month? They all said that would be great. We can all afford that. We can afford, for that amount of money, it would be worth having access to you anytime we need you. And some of those women are still in here. They show up very rarely. They might get on here once a year, but I guarantee you when they get on here, they need me and it's worth it. It's like cheap insurance of having access to me to fix any problem they're ever going to encounter in business. Roger,
Hey, John,
go ahead.
What would you have done if 3 people bought and no others?
I would have done it. I still would have made it for them.
So you bought yourself some time. One of the strategies, it sounds like, is you bought yourself some time, stretching it out over several weeks so that you could actually perform the duty of getting it done. So so let me ask you this question real quick. Let's say you have 3 or 4 quote unquote programs right now, whether they're boot camps or master classes in your mind or whatever it is, webinars, topics that you believe, you're not 100% sure, but you believe that your clients would want or want. Are you saying scrap all that, take all that off the table and start over and only put together programs, live events, etc., that you absolutely know ahead of time that they want first? Or how would you,
if I already have it created, that's different. If I already have it created, there's no reason not to try and sell what's already there.
Okay.
But this is for anything new.
Got it.
Like if you don't have a program or you're thinking about making a program, sell it. If you can't sell it, don't make it. Don't waste your time. Do something more valuable.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. But if you already have something, by all means, you know, you should be selling it. You know,
Okay.
if it sells, if it doesn't sell and it's just, forget it,
on.
move on. Yeah, move on to
Right.
greener pastures.
Got it.
But, it's amazing when I look at how many people, over the years have been in this program and how much I've made $29 at a time. It's several $1,000,000. I was shocked when I saw that. I didn't know how the stats worked. I used a member at first instead. Kartra wasn't around, so I used a member for my membership site. And I'm not somebody that goes and tinkers with stuff for the matter of tinkering with it. I'd rather go out and be fishing or something. So at some point when we got to the end and I was migrating stuff into Kartra, I found analytics in a member that I didn't even know were there. And I went in and I was looking at stats, and it had all the financial stats of how much money that program had brought in, $29 at a time. And I was like, holy shit, you got to be kidding me. It was, it was a couple $1,000,000, and I had no idea. I just had no clue that it had brought in that much money.
I got
Hell, if I'd have known that, I might have focused on it a little more.
Yeah, I got a totally unrelated question, and maybe someone else has the answer to this question. You get a call, you don't know, they leave you a message, they want to talk about coaching, let's just say. They're specific in what, almost specific kind of in what type of coaching. You provide that service, but you don't connect, so they leave a message. Then you call to respond, and you have to leave a message. And then they call again 2 days later, 3 days later, and they miss you. And so they say they'll try to call you on their break, morning break, afternoon break, etc. So this is going on. And my question specifically to that, how often do you make an attempt to follow up with a prospect who has contacted you? What's the point where you go, I don't want to be desperate and I don't want to be bugging that person? How do you gauge that?
I think anybody on this call could probably intuitively answer that, knowing how lazy I am. I am very bad at follow-up.
Okay.
Yes, you are, John. I'm sorry. No.
Yeah, no.
Okay, Tim, answer the question.
Randy, the point is, if someone is really after you and trying to connect and they're interested, you have to follow up. You got to go after that, because people follow up with people who aren't that interested in their stuff. Okay, but if you have someone that's hot, you have to connect with them however you can. It may not be by phone, maybe it's text, maybe it's email, whatever it is, but try a couple different avenues to reach back to them instead of just one. And, because they're more likely to buy from you. And so you don't want to let those warm fish swim away.
I would also ask them, Randy, what's the best time to reach you, time zone, and leave them with something that they have to do so that they'll get back to you. What I found is that, if you give them something that they've got to perform on, they're going to come back to you with it. So I'm just, I'm sorry I have to leave you another message, but I'm going to leave you with one thought. What one thing do you need to work on right now? And what would that do for you if you were successful? Okay. They're gonna love that, because now they're like, wait a minute, I called you because you are a coach and you just coached me to do something. I'm loving it. So all of a sudden there's a rapport that you've just built with them that you won't get if you just keep reach, withdraw, and leave a message. Make them do something.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you, Linda. That helps a lot.
I was going to say very much the same thing. There is like, what I do is I'm not going to play the phone tag game. For one, it devalues you.
That's what I was afraid. Yeah, that's one of the things I was afraid of.
Yeah, it turns you from a very valuable coach resource to a salesperson, which you don't want to be a salesperson. No. So what I would do, I train everybody that I don't you know, my cell phone is not an open line for you to just call me. I don't just take calls. I schedule my calls, and I have certain hours that I'm available for scheduled calls. I'm not just available 24/7 for everybody, you know, like, and at different levels, I'm available at different availability levels, you know,
Yeah.
like for everybody in the $29 thing, this is your chance to talk to me. This is your time. You know, for private consultation with me, it's $1,000 an hour, because I don't really want to do it. I don't want to be at beck and call.
Hmm.
You know, my time is very valuable to me. So like if somebody reaches out to me and they leave a message, I will usually text or email them back. Sometimes I'll call and leave a message if it's just easier. But what I say is, here's the link to my scheduler if you'd like to schedule, you know, a call. Or if it's something I can just answer for them, I'll just answer it in a text or an email or, you know, whatever. But I won't like go back and forth like, oh yeah, call me whenever you can. I'm just available 24/7 for it. I do not do that.
Okay, yeah.
And that's an important thing too, John, because what you just said is that you value your time. They have not learned to value you yet. They know, and all they're thinking about is it's all about me. I have something, I want something, and you should be on my time. No, you got to train it, nip it.
Yeah. And
wean it.
people are very similar to dogs in training. It's an action that is rewarded is repeated. Like a dog, you train them to sit, you reward them with a treat. You train them, you know, you train them to shake. You reward them with a treat. Well, if I answer the call, I'm rewarding you with a treat. So what are you going to do? You're going to call me again at some odd time when I don't want to take a call. So behavior that is rewarded is repeated. Remember that. You need to train your customers in that with that same thing in mind.
That hits home. No bad dog behavior.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, I've heard some coaches actually refer to it as that.
Bad dog.
You know, and it sounds kind of shitty me saying we're all like dogs and we're all trainable, but we are. We are just as trainable as dogs.
I know that's debatable for me. I think my dog's a little more trainable.
We didn't say old dog.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, come on. We can always teach an old dog a new trick.
Depends on how many treats and what kind of food it is.
Bingo.
That's right.
Bring on the lobster, John.
That's right. I know I have higher incentive levels that appeal. But anyway, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You want to create yourself as highly valuable. If you don't, what's the point? You know, I would focus on that versus, you know, that creates credibility too. You know.
Yeah, I'll make that call this afternoon. I like what Linda had to say, so I took some quick notes. And let me ask you another question, John, real quick. Have you ever had a person who you had been sending business to? Formally, there's no relationship, not formally, but have you ever had a situation where you have referred people, and then that person who you had been referring clients to or people to end up securing one of your clients from you?
Yeah, absolutely.
How do you handle that mentally? How do you handle it socially?
To me, it's fine. If somebody goes with somebody else, I wasn't the right person for them.
Is that how you think about that? Okay, I was just curious.
Yeah, why would I want them?
That's the second part.
I only want people that are a right fit. This is really interesting too. I have a reseller program where I've got people that resell some of my services, my web development services, my SEO services. And the way I look at it is I really don't want any clients. I would rather have a reseller that is the buffer between me and the client, where my team just provides the work and I don't really have to deal face to face with the front end of the consumers. So I had one of my resellers somehow had contacted one of my existing clients that had been a client of mine for like 10 years. And it was in the pool business. And, I had done their website, and this reseller had talked them into doing a new website. And I already built their website and was hosting it and all that. And when I found out, I'm just like, oh, okay, you can have them. I didn't care. They were, when they found out what happened, they thought I was like gonna throw them under the bus and not do any business with them anymore. And I'm like, it was so the opposite.
It's interesting because it didn't happen to me, but it happened to my wife in her business. And she's in the accounting and finance arena. And she had been referring to a CPA for a long time, lots of clients, because she's just not into tax work. She doesn't love taxes. And this particular CPA ended up getting one of her largest clients over, so I was just curious. It's bothering me more than it's bothering her. Let's put it that way. So I was just curious.
I have a different spin on that. I have a completely different viewpoint on it. Maybe it's because I'm in such a very competitive industry in real estate, but it would annoy the hell out of me. And that would really offend me because, and I'm trying to understand, I understand John's position on it, that you don't want the wrong client because the wrong client, even in real estate, can be disastrous. But when we're talking about a sale of something, I'm talking about, the difference of, one transaction that can be a six-figure. And that's a big loss to me, because in order to get something like that, you've invested something that you cannot get back, and that's your time.
Well,
and
yeah.
So I have a completely different spin on that. And my spin on referrals is non-compete at the same time. So if I referred business over to somebody, I have an expectation, I will refer this client to you, but you will pay me for it.
Yeah. And the interesting thing is, at first she was initially shocked, and I felt her pain, and I was sad for her. And I'm nowhere near the type of business relationship she has in terms of that kind of money, like you're saying, where you might be giving away a $10,000, $20,000 client, or losing a $10,000, $20,000 client that you've been working with for years. And I know it bothered her, and I was just curious how John would deal with that, because that hasn't happened to me personally, but I saw it in my family with my wife. And I just want to prepare myself, because John has taught us certain things, but most of what he has taught us is shine them on. If you ever do me wrong, we're done, that sort of stuff. And obviously she's done with that CPA, but at the same time, we're talking a lot more money than, a $2,000 or $3,000 a month client.
Yeah. I mean, there's levels to that I will tolerate and some that I won't. Like if somebody comes in and just is trying to bash me and trying to say bad things about me that are not true to try and get a client, that's just not somebody I want to have anything to do with. So that's the kind of person I will write off, at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's just, somebody happens to decide they like to work with somebody else better than me, that's perfectly fine. I mean, that is absolutely not a problem.
I think it changes when you have an investment of time. And again, I hate bringing up that analogy, but when you are spending time with a client or a prospect, you're giving them, samples of what you do, samples of, your value. And it would just seem to me that if I had given, if that person came to me, and then I don't know the circumstances of your wife, Randy, but that they knew of this other CPA, obviously there was a there was a handing off somewhere that occurred. And so if there's no expectation, then that would be understandable. But if that person came and actually snatched my client away, I'm sorry, I'd hunt him down and beat him to death.
Well, the handoff was in the referral, referring clients in terms of that. But in this particular case, that CPA is retiring, someone else is taking over, and it sounds like they're grabbing at everything they can grab any way they can do it, which is, to me, is kind of unethical.
Yeah, what I used to run into a lot was in the SEO business. I'd have big companies that they would put their team on the phone with me to try and figure out what it was I was doing so they could do it themselves and cut me out.
Right.
And I would never do that. I would never tell them, what exactly we did. And they, there was this big time in SEO when everybody was, saying, oh, you have to be transparent about everything. And I'm like, bullshit, you have to be transparent about something, that you have technical knowledge in. That's like going to Kentucky Fried Chicken and asking for the recipe.
There you go. That's your secret sauce. You're right.
Yeah. They're not going to give you the recipe for Kentucky Fried Chicken, and nor am I going to give you the recipe to SEO.
Yeah.
If you want me to train your team to do certain things for you, it's $1,000 an hour. No problem. I'm happy
I'm
to
just
do
curious. But thank you. That helps a lot. Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Gary.
John, I got a question for you regarding the passive piggy bank. I love the idea of build your landing gear as you're starting to land the plane. You could crash and burn, but when you're talking, so where do you go and sell your audience? For me, I have several ideas where I'm going to do this, and obviously it's going to be in speaking in doing this. So is it just simply go find your speaking engagements and then sell it?
Well, it's purely proof of concept is what it is. It's absolutely proof of concept. Like if your concept is there's a lot of people out here that would want this. Okay, the first proof you have to prove is who are these people and where are they? And then you have to find them, you have to present it to them and see if they bite. And if they do, now you have your proof of concept, and now it's worth building it out. It's like you're almost putting the T of ACT in the front of things, and you're driving the traffic to something to see the result. It's like you're testing, you're market testing is what you're doing.
Thank you.
And that's what ad agencies. That's what it felt like. Yeah, so ad agencies do this all the time. They will do market surveys. They will bring people in and do focus groups. And they take that information back to the company and they say, your product's not right. This is the product you need to build. This is the product that we can sell. We'll create an ad campaign. You build the product. That's the way it works. Roger, you had...
Yeah, John, I was back to Randy's scenario, and I'm not saying this is the case, Randy, please don't believe that, but I have witnessed separately, and Michelle and I were talking about, person goes over to service provider B, referred by service provider A for a specialty item, right? But that client resonates with person B better. They click, they really like person B. And so even though service provider B isn't actively trying to capture that client from provider A, the client says, I'm with you now. I like you better, I'm with you. And frankly, we had a situation where we switched for the same thing. We got a referral from a person and went over and just really resonated with the other person.
And I don't think, and I'm glad you brought that up, Roger, because here's the most important part of this piece. It's not about the money necessarily. It happened to be her largest client of several years. But here's the thing. Based on what you just said, what I would, if I was CPA B or A, whoever, and that client resonated with me, I would, in my heart of hearts, would have an obligation to go to the person who has referred that client to me and say, this is what's going on. How can we make this okay between us and still serve this client so they're in our circle, even if they come over and are with me? Let me make good with you so that I have this relationship that I maintain with you. Oh, so I can continue to get referrals and be good with you. But to just take that client, no communication at all. And
that's
it's
the
like,
underhanded.
that's I think is the more hurtful, underhanded scenario based on
Totally
what you're saying. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Welcome to my commercial world. Okay,
Yeah,
that's exactly what happens. And so what you're talking about is a relationship. And the relationship, something occurred in that the client was unhappy with something that they got from the other person. But the ethical portion of this, and because you're talking about something that has a fiduciary responsibility called a CPA, an attorney, anybody that's licensed for this kind of thing, it is
anybody
unethical.
that's a professional, let alone licensing, just being a professional.
But the license gives you license, or her license, to go back and do make this right. Contacting that client, because if they had this client for several years, something was right. Something was very right about it, and she will be far more she'll benefit far more by understanding what occurred that made them go look someplace else anyway. It's kind of like a marriage.
It could be into my wife's defense, it might not have been anything to do with service or whatever. My wife has a certain size company that she owns. She's not looking to make a conglomerate. This CPA firm might just be bigger. And so in the mind of that client, hey, I need to go to somebody who is bigger, more well-known, et cetera, et cetera. We had that happen a few years ago when one of the 49ers was brought to us by his attorney, and I won't mention the name, and she ended up not only having him, the 49er, but the attorney became a client of my wife's, but he grew so much. He had 5 or 6 companies. When he got over 10 companies, it was way more in his mind, but he communicated that to her and went and took his business elsewhere. But it's that communication piece that left her blindsided.
I think there's an opportunity here for everyone to learn something in this process. And I would encourage you, because you're such a great communicator, Randy, to write a survey for her and have her go back to the client and say, I understand you've left, would you mind taking the survey? And, because there could be some valuable information out of this. Was it too small? Was it too big? Was it, not enough touching, not enough, all right, I'm not in your business, Roger. So
I can tell you too, from from my experience also, about people getting taken away.
Hey, Roger, you could use that one.
a lot of
still
times,
cracking up.
I can't help it either.
fairly irreverent.
Sorry, John. That was a good one.
No worries. But a lot of times, like if I lose a customer, like let's say somebody is on, I've done a site for them and we're hosting them and all that, and they move. What usually happens is somebody sold them a bill of goods. Somebody that was a really good salesperson came through and basically sold them. So normally a web developer would throw you to the wolves. If you were going to leave, they just say, oh, you're on your own. Just figure it out. Screw you. I'm not helping you move. Now, me, on the other hand, if somebody tells me that they're going to move, I'll transfer the files for them. I'll help them in the transition. I'll do whatever, I'll help them make that transition to the next person. Happy to do it. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to, to make their life easier. Usually what happens is they'll get over that other person. They'll have a bad experience, usually sooner rather than later. and then I'll help them move back. And at that point, I've got them forever.
So true. That is so true. Oh my God. So
That's a
true.
I'll tell you, I've experienced that more times than I can count.
I hadn't thought about that part.
Yeah. It's the relationship. How you
Mhm.
act now is how you're going to act then. They know that. They get that. So, Roger, go ahead. You got something too good to.
No, Michelle's over there saying, John, your magnanimous, generous style, how much of that is a liberty that you now can exercise by virtue of the fact that you've accumulated millions of dollars in these fees and you're semi-retired on your boat, as opposed to when you're hungry and when you're, scratching and clawing and then those things happen. Would
And
you
that's a
have a
good
different
point.
attitude then?
That's a good point.
That's a great point, and I can tell you from experience, and I've told people this, people always say, oh, when you get money, you're going to be evil. I'm like, no, money is only a magnifying glass.
Yeah.
Money is only going to make you more of who you were. So,
But that doesn't really answer the
maybe-
question.
no, I mean,
Because I understand what
but it-
Roger's saying, and many of us are in that boat where, even if you've been at it 2 or 3 years, if you haven't really connected all the dots.
I mean, when I was back in the beginning, I can admit I was a little hungrier, but I still never treated anybody badly. If somebody
Okay.
wanted to leave, I would still help them do it. I didn't feel as good about it inside as I do now, but
Right.
I would still do it.
Right.
But yeah, you're right. I wouldn't have felt as good about it. I would have gone kick the door and goddamn mother.
And
It hurts a lot.
Well,
And I can
it
tell you
hurts.
from my own experience, and this happened to me fairly recently. I do commercial real estate, so the deals are fairly big. A $16 million transaction means I'm going to make maybe 400,000. What's on the table is 400,000. Whether I split it or I don't split it is whether I bring the buyer or not, but I've got the listing. And the price of this property, so in real estate, frequently what happens is your clients will think that it was too easy if you got that they left money on the table if they get multiple offers. So every time I had an offer, he would raise the price. So do you really want to sell it or do you not want to really sell it? But what came up was my competitor said, I could have better offers for you. In fact, a lot better offers. And this went on for several months until finally my client said, we're going to give you another 60 days on this listing. I said, no, take the listing. I know you have somebody in the wings already. Do it. You have to be willing to walk away from something, because when you know what your value is, you're going to get another one probably better. And that's just been my whole experience through my entire life, is when you understand your value and you understand what you do, be willing to walk away from something because you have a standard. And I wasn't willing to lower my standard. And so when he did this, and there is an end to this story in 30 seconds or less, he took it to market and he couldn't sell it. So I did the next best thing and I wrote an offer for a higher amount. And I told the owner of the property, I said, I don't know that I'm going to go through with this, but I do have a better offer for you. He almost died. He's like, why did I even leave you? When you show value over and over again, you can't be afraid to lose something that somebody's going to walk away from, because if you do, you devalue who you are and what you have and what you offer.
Yeah.
And there are other clients that have been like John and I have talked about this, pains in the ass. You can't wait.
You muted yourself there.
They cost you more than what you're making on them. So, there is some balance in here, but being willing to walk away from a client, it hurt me. It really hurt that I've known this client and I've had this client for over 15 years, repeat client. big deals, big transactions, and he has made millions, and I do mean tens of millions of dollars with my investment strategy. And he would walk away and test me with this. Yes, it infuriated me, but out of all of that, what I realized was my own worth out of that. I may have been a newbie when you first brought your deal to me, but I've got 15 years of experience under my belt with you alone. So, you know, your wife, yeah, it hurts, and got to tell you that it's infuriating. But when you hold your ground and you stand your ground, and you're not going to go beat them up, or, you know, if you beat yourself up more than you know what you're getting or you lose out of it, because the nerve-wracking part of it is like, how can I be better? What do I get out of this? And so I think that survey, going back to her in offering that up, you'll know.
Yeah, I'll do that. And it's a learning experience for me that she went through this, because she's really the entrepreneur. I'm becoming something I wasn't. I was always in the corporate world, that in the military. So, you know, working for Fortune 500s, as John knows, is a whole lot different than becoming this entrepreneur. But my wife is a natural at it. Her father is a natural at it, if there is such a thing. But watching her hold her head up and still see the pain of that happening, I thought, man, if that happens to me. Now, I understand that I'm not for everybody as far as coaching. I'm not for everybody as far as speaking from the platform. And we all know that. And I have had clients go, maybe they coach with me 2 or 3 times, and I've only had 1 or 2 that have not come back. And I know, because we didn't have that rapport, we didn't connect. You know, my expectations for the client was different than what their own expectation was, or I didn't see them as being one that was serious about doing what they said they wanted to do. So if I don't think I can get the results for them, then why stick it out with them? So I understand all that, but it's just like, my goodness, for years and years, if you have a long-term relationship and then somebody, so to speak, stabs you in the back, that's gotta be tough to take.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Losing an
But
elephant is expensive, but you can find additional ones, and that may be an opportunity to expand our business or do something different.
Yeah, but it's, you know, it's like Craig says, do your best, because you don't know who's watching.
Yep, absolutely.
A lot of people are watching, and they
And
see everything.
Yeah, and I say that a lot in my coaching, and even from stage, you absolutely have to do that, because you never know. In fact, someone's always watching.
Yeah. I mean, if somebody sees you treat somebody like crap because you lost them as a customer, they're not going to want to be your customer, because they're not going to want that. They're not going to want that.
Nope.
Yeah. So just, you know, and it has a lot to do also with a scarcity mindset.
Mhm.
Like, I know anybody, I could lose anything, and it doesn't really matter, because I don't have a scarcity mindset. I know there's abundance. I can have more of anything I want. It's just, you know, you just got to go do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was focusing on that for the learning and to get your feedback. My wife is also the COO of an autism company, so it's not like she doesn't have enough keeping her busy. So I'm sure she's moved on. She's moved on, but I'm the one that's having the problem with it.
Yeah, no, I get it. And it's the scarcity mindset. People pick up on it. It's like a dog can smell fear. People can pick up on a scarcity mindset.
Well, and I guess I've always had a problem with people that treat people inappropriately, or take advantage of people, or sell themselves as something they're not. And I don't know if I have this, I still struggle with it at 60 plus years old, doing something that's not right to people. I struggle with it. And I don't know why.
You should.
It eats at me. It just eats at me. It's just not right.
I mean, that's the sign of a good person. I mean,
Yeah, but a
if
temper
you did-
tantrum, no matter what age, never is pleasant to look at.
No.
No, it's not a good thing. People don't want to be involved with a scarcity mindset.
Mhm.
You know, if you have a limited mindset and you're like not on top of your game, nobody wants to follow that. Nobody's going to want to hire you. Nobody's going to want to buy your stuff. It's
That's
like
true.
if you're charging forward and you're on fire and you're happy and everything is good, they want to be along for that ride.
Absolutely.
People get to choose the bus they get on and off.
Mhm.
So you need to make a bus they're going to want to get on.
Damn, you didn't tell us we were going to get so many life lessons here today. And I have just enjoyed this session so much, John, because I got a chance to get to know a few more people in this group by them just simply revealing themselves. And also to know a lot more about the process that I'm going through with the passive piggy bank. So I just want to thank everybody today. This has been really enjoyable.
Yeah, that was cool.
Thank you all. Thank you all.
Anything else before we wrap up here?
Side question, John.
Sure.
So when are you sailing next week?
I'm on board right now.
Okay.
Are you in the area?
Oh, yeah, I'm in SoCal. I was just like, oh, I have some time slotted free. I'm like, maybe I'll go call up John.
Absolutely. Yeah. You have my just send me an email or a text and we'll get you on down here.
All right, John. Thank you. That's all I needed.
Sure.
See you all
Absolutely.
later. Thank you.
All right, guys, have a great week. I feel we're off to a great 2022. I know there's going to be a lot of crazy madness this year, but I'm just not going to participate in it.
No phony baloney countdowns for me.
No,
It was a great session. And thanks, Linda.
It was.
Great words.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank
Talk to you
all.
guys soon. See you next week.
Be
Bye.
safe.
Okay,
Bye.
guys, have a great week.